This is a short video to discuss some recent changes with the VAT legislation and supplementary to the ones that have come in successively regarding the recent budget. So Mike, could you give us an update on these recent changes, please?
Okay, well, there's, as you say, there's a couple of big changes that have happened. The first one I'm going to talk about is actually the one that's coming most recently, which was from 1st of March. Now, if you're a business that's involved in the construction industry and do work within the CIS scheme, you need to listen to this one. It was a plan that was originally due to come in October 2019, but the construction industry at the time made, I won't say complaints, but suggested to the government that they weren't ready to deal with the changes. The government listened to them, so they put it off until October 20. Sadly, October 20 was right in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So the government put it off again, this time not due to industry reasons, but purely for the sake of the country. We've got to the stage now, they thought we can't put it off any longer. So from the 1st of March, so just a few days ago, if you're in the construction industry, you might need to do something different with your VAT returns.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of little rules around it, but if I just give it in the simplest terms, and then if you've got a situation where you need some specific advice, then you need to talk to somebody. Broadly, if you're a subcontractor who's doing some work that gets caught by the CIS scheme, that is a taxable supply, so i.e. it's either reduced rate 5% or it's the standard rate 20%, and you're doing it for a main contractor who doesn't actually own the project, they're just billing their work on to somebody else, then you're caught by this, what they're calling the domestic reverse charge. Now, apparently the government brought this in because they thought there were lots of construction type firms that were charging VAT, never paying it over to the government and running off with proceeds. Not quite sure how true that is or what the amount that they think they were losing was, but this is their response for doing it. So if you get caught in one of these domestic reverse charge situations, you need to carry an invoice in the net to your customer.
Yeah. You
don't charge VAT though. You charge them what you would have done without the VAT. They just pay you that, and then on their VAT return, you then have to report both the input and the output, which obviously leaves the main contractor in a neutral position as well.
Okay, well that doesn't sound too bad. Sounds quite simple, but there must be some catches.
Well, there's a few potential catches. So if you're the subcontractor and you've been paying your VAT over every quarter, every time you get paid by the main contractor, he's giving you the VAT, and until you actually get to the point in time of having to send that over to HMRC, you can use that in your business as cash flow.
Mm.
So that element is now going to be in the main contractor bank account, not yours.
Yeah.
There'll be some people who might find they're suddenly a bit short of cash.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the main contractor, your issue is you need to make sure that any work that is under the CIS scheme that is a taxable supply is invoiced under this domestic reverse charge arrangement, because if you get an invoice where the subcontractor charges you VAT, you then claim it back in the normal way. If HMRC suddenly come along and do a visit, see you've done that and it's a supply that should have been under the domestic reverse charge, they'll disallow any input tax that's been claimed. The main contractor's then got to go away and try and find the subcontractor to get his money back.
That sounds very serious. So it's clearly important that the administration is kept right up to date in your supply chain by the contractors.
Yeah, well, we've seen certainly some of our clients sending us copies of letters that they've received, well, both sides of the chain, but generally from the main contractors they work for, stating that if they do get an invoice that's got VAT on it, they think shouldn't have VAT on it, they're not going to get paid and they'll get it sent back, and they'll have to issue a new one.
Thank you, Mike. That's clearly a very important change for the construction industry clients, and hopefully they're all fully aware now and on board. So are there any other changes?
Well, the
Sure.
other, which has impacted hugely from the 1st of January 21, is all related to the B word. As this video is only designed to be about 4 minutes in total, rather than 4 days is what we need, we can barely scratch the surface for now. The UK leaving the EU has seen foreign businesses having to seek VAT registrations here, whilst many UK businesses have been required to get an additional EU VAT registration too. Although VAT on services is relatively unscathed, the same can't be said with goods are concerned, I'm afraid. Whilst many transactions no longer require VAT being charged at invoice level, this has been replaced with VAT and duty at the customs border. Depending on the contracts in place between customers and suppliers, particularly the INCA terms, which stands for International Commercial Contract Terms, the place of supply could have changed from pre-1st of January 21. Since the place of supply is key in deciding on the correct VAT treatment, businesses need to be aware of what these Incoterms are to avoid unnecessary or unwanted foreign registrations. Many smaller businesses for whom EU trade either buying or selling is less common will probably use a shipping agent, freight forwarder or courier, etc. to deal with all the necessary paperwork to deal with customs requirements. That seems to make a good sense on many levels and worth extra cost that may be involved. A new VAT phenomenon has also arrived, postponed VAT accounting. In most ways, or in some ways, it shares similarities to the domestic reverse charge that Mike spoke about. Rather than businesses paying HMRC for VAT to secure the release of goods through customs, then making a reclaim for the same amount on their VAT return, instead there will be no initial payment required, but the VAT return will include both an output and an input entry. Deferment accounts, URI numbers, commodity codes, and so on. There are a whole load of new terms we're all going to have to get used to. I can see your eyes glazing over at this point, Nigel, so I'll stop it there.
I'm sure it's something to do with my age. But thank you, Sean. I'm glad we don't do goods at Lambert Chapman and we're only into services. Sounds a bit of a nightmare, I'm afraid.
Well, interestingly, our personal tax clients in the EU will be better off from the 1st of January, as accountancy and tax services benefit from being able to be charged without VAT in the UK for now.
Well done, Sean, for ending on a good note, especially as we can have some clients where our services won't seem as expensive as they used to be. Thank you, everybody. And if there's anybody there outside that needs more help, please get in touch with us in the usual way. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.